Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, Text 1. Sutta uvacha tata parikshid divija varya sikshaya mahim maha bhagavata sahayata he sutyam avidjata kovidah samadesan vipra mahadgunas tatha. Sutta said after that Parikshit was a great twice-born individual. By their instructions, he ruled the earth as a great devotee in the past. As they told it, verily at the time of his birth, the expert astrologers gave their opinions about great qualities, and he was true to that. Now, if people believe in what such individuals say enough, it's going to affect their character. And everything and its opposite is really predicted by Vedic astrology and Western astrology and other systems of astrology. So, well, particularly Vedic astrology. So people are going to remember, oh, this was right, and this was right, and this was right. And there's also the fact that when it comes to prophetic figures, sometimes the information is known through sources that you maybe shouldn't agree with on their own. You know what I mean? You know, the revelation or the inspiration, the way of the sent one, the avatar is, and that's really what should be followed. But there's soothsayers and people talking to spirits and all sorts of stuff that some truth is coming in, but you don't know what's truth, right? Text 2. Sa utarasya tanayam upa yame iravatim janame jayadims chaturas tasyam utpadayat sutan. He married the daughter of King Uttara, Iravati. And from this marriage, he had 4 sons, headed by Jana Majaya, and the other sons were Srutasena, Ugrasena, and Bhimasena the second. Text 3. Ajaharasva medams tringangayam bure takshinam saradvatam gurum krtva deva yadrakshe gochara. He performed 3 horse sacrifices at the bank of the Ganges. And this was done with sufficient rewards unto Kapacharya, his spiritual master, having selected the light beings wherein the eyes would view. And some of these practices prove to the beings that you're more than just some mundane individual. Now, whether certain things that are done with the animal sacrifices that are mentioned elsewhere are absolutely universal, that's to say elsewhere, because certainly they're not. In some traditions, don't include the bestiality and some of the other things that are associated with the sacrifices. Now, I'm not saying that bestiality was ever spiritually acceptable from divinity, but, it was in India and, well, throughout Eurasia, it was actually something that was part of their rituals. Text, but this isn't mentioned here. Text 4. Nejagraha ujasa virah kalim digvijaya kavachit nirpalinga daram sudram ganantam gumethunam pada. Because of the prowess of the valiant hero, there was the punishment unto the era, because on his way to conquer the world, he passed by, appearing as lower class, and saw someone herding the legs of a cow and a bull. Text 5. Saunaka uvacha kasya hetor nijagraha kalim digvijaya nirpah nirdeva chehna dirk sudrako sau gamya pada hanat tat Kathyatam Mahabhaga Yade Krishna Kathastrayam. Saunaka said, for what reason was this a sufficient punishment upon the master of the age during the time of his world tour? This king, this royal, he was dressed up like the servile class. He saw a king harming a cow by striking it on its legs. Please describe this. Oh, greatly fortunate. If, however, something is about the all-attractive, then relate this and its topics. And regardless of your rank in society, you really should be able to speak up or act in terms of correcting the rulers. Text 6. Athavasya padam bhuja Makaranda leham satam kemanyair asad alapayir ayusho yadasanvyaya. Otherwise, of his lotus feet are those who lick the honey from such a lotus flower. Of those who are to exist eternally, what's the use of anything that's illusory as far as topics of the duration of life? And what is unnecessary is a waste of life. So even though legal matters are important, one sets them aside if one is to find out the spiritual import. Text 7. Kshura yusham nirnam anga martyanam ratam mitchatam eho pahuto bhagavan mrityu samitra karmane. Now, one of the things implied in that is like, why was it merely a punishment, right? some people would say, well, you should have killed the person because he was herding a cow. It's like, I don't know if that was ever the rule, but, for a very small duration is life of humans. Oh, master of those who are sure to meet death, the eternal life of those who desire it herein are called to be present, representing divine personality as the controller of death, suppressing performances. So, think before you act, right? Text 8. Na kaschin mreyate tavad yavadasta hantaka etadartham he bhagavan ahuta paramarshim ahunderloke piyata harelilamratam vacha. No one will die as long as there is the presence herein of the one who causes the end of life. And for this reason, certainly, the representative of divinity is invited by the great sages. Also in human society, let them drink the transcendental pastimes of, let them drink the potency play, which is the nectar of eternal life by its narrations. Text 9. Mandasya manda prajnasya vayo mandayushas chavaye nidraya reyate naktam divacha vyartha karma bih. The lazy with paltry intelligence and short age and a short duration of life, which is exacted by sleeping, he passes away. Night and day, also, for nothing are his activities. Text 10. Sutta uvacha yada parikshit kuru jangale avasat kalim pravishtam neja chakra vartete nesamya vartam anate preyam tatah sarasanam samyuga saundir adade. Sutta said, when Parikshit was in the capital of the Kuru Empire, where he was residing, the symptoms of the age entered within his jurisdiction, and he thus heard the news that was not very palatable. And thereafter, there was the chance with arrows and bows for warlike activities that he took up. Now, some people say that the age of Kali, just like the Jahiliyyah mentioned in the Islamic world, is, of course, connected with the pillars of sinful life. And in this system that we're going over is the illicit, the unlawful sexual intercourse, the unlawful shedding of blood, the intoxication, and the cheating, which includes, of course, gambling. It includes usury and all sorts of stuff. But there are personal choices, and the age creeps on, right? As the teachings and the goodness of people gets diluted, then the dark age comes on. So text 11, Savalan Kirtam Syama Tuanga Yojetam Ratam Margandra Dvajam Masretah Purat Varto Rathasva Dvepapate Yuktaya Svasenaya Degvejaya Nirgata. Very well decorated black horses were pulling the chariot with its lion flag under the protection from the capital and surrounded by charioteers. The cavalry and the elephants were thus equipped, along with the infantry, for the purpose of conquering. They went out. Now, one should not just conquer because you think you can. And if you want to maintain the support and stuff for it, certainly just figuring I probably have enough might for this, Text 12. Barasvam Katumalam Cha Baratam Chotaran Kurun Kempushadine Varshane Vijetya Jagrhe Balim Barasvam Katumalam and Baratam and the northern countries were beyond the Kuru dynasty as the northern countries north of the Himalayas. These parts of the earth were conquered by their strength, and Bhadrasva is an island near Meru Parvata. Katumala, the earth's divided into 7 parts, and some say it's divided into 9 parts. This earth is Jambu Dvipa, and it has 9 Varshas. Varata Varsha is one of the 9 parts, and the Varshas is generally what's meant by a continent. So there's a couple that aren't listed as continents, right? But different definitions, right? The Mahabharata in Sabha 28, 6-7 has Nagaras Chavanam Chavanaris Chavimaludakah Purushandeva Kalpamps Chapreya Darsanah Arashta Purvan Subhagan Sadadarsa Dhananjaya saranam cha subrane narischa apsarasam nibba. And some people think of these things in terms of how beautiful the women are the equal to the women of heaven. Well, if they're better behaved, they're greater than the ones, right? So the Mediterranean, on the side of Europe, is considered a continent. Text 13 to 15. Tatra tatro pasranvana svapurvasham mahatmanam pragiyamanam chayasah krishna mahatmya suchakam atmanam chaparitratam asvatam no stratejasa sneham cha vrshne parthanam tesham bhaktim cha kasave tabya paramasantushtah prite ujjarma beta lochana maha danane vasamse dadauharan maha manna. Everywhere the king visited, he continuously heard about his ancestors, who were all great servants. And unto those he was addressing also the glories of the all-attractive, his glorious acts, indicating his personal self, also were delivered of Asvatthama, the weapon of powerful rays, and the affection between the descendants of Vrshne and Pritha, and the devotion unto the controller, unto them that were extremely pleased by the attraction. They became open as one who has eyes to the greater riches, and there was clothing given in charity, and this was done because of his broader outlook. Text 16. Sarathya parashada savana sakhya dautya virasana nugamana stavana pranaman snigdashu pandushu jangat pranatim cha vishnur bhaktim karote nirpatis charanaravinde. And because of his acceptance as the chariot driver, he had the presidency in the assembly of the sacrifice. He constantly worked his mind to think of the friendship, and accepting the post of a messenger, he accepted the post of a watchman with the drawn sword, and he followed in the footsteps, offering prayers and obeisances unto them who are malleable to the will of the Lord. So be nice to people so that they serve God more. Unto the Pandu sons, there's universal obedience, and of the maintaining, there's the devotion that is done by the king unto his lotus feet. Text 17. Tasya evam vartamanasya purvesham vrtim anvaham natidure kelascharya yadasit tanibudame. Of him, as he thus remained absorbed in thought about the ancestors, there was a good engagement day after day, and not far off was what was astonishing, as it's known from me. Text 18. Dharma padaye kenna charan vichayam upalabhya gam parchate smasruvadanam vivatsam ivamataram. The religious principles regarding even one leg of wandering was overtaken by grief, having met with the cow that was asking with its tears, as one who lost their offspring, like a mother. 19. Dharma uvacha kachid badre namayam atmanas te vichayase malayata shanmukena alakshaya bhavatim antaradim dure bandum sochase kanchanamba. The saying of social order is whether was to ask whether the lady was quite hale and hearty as a self unto you, and it appeared to be covered with grief, which darkens the face slightly, and you look, unto the personality, there's some disease within, as a long-distant friend thinking of someone. Oh, mother. Text 20. Padayar yunam sochase maeka padam atmanam varshalayar boksyamanam ahusuradan hartayajna bhagan prajautasvinmangavate avarshate. 3 legs were diminished by the lamenting for that. Only 1 leg of the body, or by the unlawful eating of flesh, to be exploited in the sacrifice. The authorized beings are devoid of their sacrificial share by the living beings increasing this, whether it's in famine or because of rainlessness. And so whether these causes are all related or whether they're separate, there's certainly things to inquire whether or not it's the hardship that is being focused on. Text 21. Arakshyamana streya urve balan sochasa Atha purushadayir evartan vacham devim brahma kure kukarmane abrahmanya raja kure kulangriyan. Unprotected women on the earth with their children are what you're feeling compassion about? As such, by the men who are unhappy, it's the speech of the light beings and the family of the Supreme, the family belonging to the Supreme, right? With the acts against the principles of action. These persons are against the spiritual culture and how the family is administrated. And that's the case with most of the families. And that's why we need to look at government and insist that government does the right thing, not just, we shelter with whatever type of government. No. They have to protect the family rights and the security of the citizens. Text 22. Kem kshatra bandun kaleno pasrashtan rashtrane vatayur avarupetane etastato vasana panna vasah snana vyavayonbukha jivalokam. Whether unworthy administrators, because of the influence of the age, they were bewildered in their state of affairs, or by them, they were put in a disordered condition here, are there accepting food stuff and drink and residence and their bath and the sexual intercourse had its inclination in human society. So, they were, essentially amoral and immoral. So, amoral with the first one, immoral and amoral was the response to these aspects of life. Now, these aspects of life can be in a good context, right? Text 23. Yadvamba te bure bharavatara krtavatarasya harer dharvetre antarhitasya smarati visrishta karmane nirvana vilambitane. That maybe your mother has a heavy load, that load is decreased, and it's done by the one incarnated. So, we're supposed to make the world better as we can. With the potency, O earth, of one is now out of sight, while thinking of all that was performed, these activities of salvation, and what that entails. And so, the saving example of the sent one. And when the sent one goes away, the strength by which that individual is followed tends to decrease. Text 24. Idam amma chakshva tava demulam vasundarayana vikarsetase kalena vate balinam balayasa surarchetam kim hartam amba saubagan. Unto me, kindly inform me about this, the root cause of your tribulations, the reservoir of all riches, by which is reduced to weakness by the influence of time, are you're powerful, very powerful, more powerful, and adored, whether this is taken away along with your fortune. Text 25. Darane uvacha bhavan heveratat sarvam yanmam dharmanu parchase chaturbir vartase yena padayir luka sukhavahaya. The Mother Earth replied that your good stuff is certainly known, and all that you've inquired of me, that is from me in the social order that you've inquired after one another, and by four you exist, and by which the legs in each and every planet increases the happiness. And some religions, like Islam for example, will tell you that the earth is going to testify. And it's going to testify about its deeds. And sometimes something in nature will inform an individual. A mountain, the earth itself, an animal. Text 26 to 30. Satyam saucham dayakshantes tyagah santosha arjavam samodamastapa samyam tetiksho parateh srutam jnanam viraktir aisvaryam sauryam tejo balam smrteh svatantaryam kausalam kandir Dhairyam mardavam evacha pragalbyam prasrayah selam saha ujo balam bagah gambiryam sathairyam astikyam kirter mano nahan krteh ete chanye cha bhagavan nitya yatra mahagunah prarthya mahatvam ichadvir na viyanti sma karhechit tennaham guna padrena Srinivasena sampratam sochame rahitam lukam papmana karenekshitam. Truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance of others, unhappiness, the self-control, even in anger, magnanimity, self-satisfaction, straightforwardness, fixing the mind, controlling the sense organs, trueness to responsibility, indiscrimination of friend and foe, tolerance of the offenses of others, indifference to loss and gain, following the scriptures, knowledge, detachment from sense enjoyment, leadership, chivalry, service nobility, not that ridiculous throw down a coat so somebody doesn't have to walk around a pile. Influence, to render possible what is impossible, define proper duty, not to depend on others, dexterity in all activities, beauty, freedom from disturbance, kind-heartedness, and also the ingenuity, the gentility, the mannerliness, the determination, perfect knowledge, proper execution, the object of enjoyment, joyfulness, immovability, faithfulness, fame, worthy to be worshipped, or worthy to think of, more literally, I guess, pridelessness. All of these, and also many others, are for the personality of God, everlasting great qualities, where it's worthy to possess greatness. Those who desire never deteriorate, ever at any time, by Him, in themselves, through the reservoir of all qualities, the noble by the resting place. Very recently, I'm thinking of, and I'm separated from, the planets by the store of all sins, by the tenseness that is seen. So in Him resides 40 qualities, and we can think of these beyond particular forms and other limitations we may associate with the human level of it. Text 31. Atmanam chanusochame bhagavantam chamarutamam devan pitran rashin sadun sarvan varnams tatha sraman. Of myself, I'm lamenting, and yourself is as well as the best among the beings, about the light beings, about the denizens of the ancestor planet, about the sages, about the devotees, all of them in their sections and orders of human society. Text 32 and 33. Brahmadayo bahutetham yarapanga moksha kamastapa samacharan bhagavat prapannah sasreh svavasam aravinda vanam vihaya yatpada saubhagam alambajate nurakta tasyaham abjakulesankusa katu katai Srimad Padair Bhagavata Sammalankartangiye Trinate Arocha Upalabhya Tato Vibhutim Lokan Samam Vyasrjad Utsmayatim Tadante. The Supreme Beings, for many days, of that glance of grace that they desire by their penances and their working for the personality of God, that they surrendered to she, the noble one of her own abode in the forest of lotus flowers, leaving a side whose feet are all blissful. The feet is a symbol of what's left behind. It's kind of what's misunderstood when they say that God left behind, God shows Moses what was left behind. It's not the show, it's not really about the feet. Of course, it's harder to understand that it's not really about the feet. And all blissful without hesitation. There's the worshiping, being attached to him, myself, of the lotus flower, the thunderbolt, the rod for driving elephants, the flag, the impression of the owner of opulence, by the soles of the feet, the personality of God, is the one whose body is so decorated. The material universe belongs to God, and so all the opulence of the material universe, all its stars and stuff, he attained thereafter the specific powers of the planetary systems, and he gave up, feeling proud at the end. While he accepted that he considered himself fortunate because of these tools that he became in charge of. So we have a symbol, a sword of sorts, so sort of like a pentacle, a sword, a wand, and a cup, to give it sort of Western attributes. Text 34, Yovae mamate baram asuravamsa rajnam akshauhenne satam apanudad atma tantra Tavam duh satham unaparam atmane paurushena sampadayan yarushu ramyam ambibrad angam. I'm certainly faced with too much of a burden with these unbelievers of the kings and their military divisions, hundreds of such divisions, extirpated. The self-sufficiency is unto you. And we're put into difficulty and we don't have the strength to stand, except internally by just a little bit of energy for executing what needs to be done in the Yadu dynasty with the transcendental beauty that we've accepted into the body. And an Ak, so Hene phalanx has 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 106,950 infantrymen, and 65,600 cavalrymen. Text 35. Kava saheta vivraham purushottammasya prema valoka ruchera smeta vangu jalpaya sathairyam samanam aharam madhu maninam Rumotsavo mama yarangre vetanketaya. Who either can tolerate the separation with the sense of the Supreme Personality, loving the glance, showing the pleasing smile, making hearty appeals with a gravity and a wrath that conquers the sweethearts. And such women had their hair standing on end due to the pleasure of whom I am imprinted with by his feet. And there's a lot of spiritual highs, you could say, that occur with ritual, with internal acceptance, with belief. Now, I know it's difficult when you say, well, you got to believe in a spiritual path to the point of, engaging yourself with the cosmology and the techniques and stuff for a while, and then you start to feel these things. So you don't know what they're like. Well, people kind of do know what they're like to a degree because they are drug-like highs. But, text 36. Tayorevam kathayato parthevi dharmayos tada parikshen nama rajarsheh praptah prachim sarasvatim. Between them that were having this conversation on earth was the manifestation of the social order at that time. Parikshit was known by name as a saint of kings, and he arrived toward the east, and the river Sarasvati. And so we have some symbolic elements, true or not. We can consider them. We need to, in a way, separate ourselves from society. We need to, in a way, approach an end to the goal or continue to the end of our life, but something that keeps flowing. Ja'afar means the little stream. I know I bring up the ancient Egyptian connotation for that name more, but I try to, release some of this. No, that's not the right way to say. You know what I mean. I try to connect to a continual flowing, just a little bit of spiritual knowledge action, whatever you want to call it, life. And to, of course, convey, just, a bit of the understanding involved. And Dharma, of course, people tend to translate it as religion, but religion too, it's a system. It's not just, some place of worship. It's the whole of social order. It's a relationship with everything. It's that social function. The other functions, of course, cosmological and pedagogical and mystical. And of course, he's an example of all four of those.